Thanks very much for joining us. Well, the race for U.S. Senate here in Massachusetts is starting to pick up some steam. The other night, you saw the two candidates who want to replace incumbent Senator Ed Markey debating here at the WBZ studios. Well, guess who's here to speak for himself? And on behalf of his reelection, it's the junior senator from Massachusetts, Ed Markey. Senator, welcome.
Great to be with you again, John.
It's always good to see you. Thanks for coming by. Did you watch the debate the other night?
Yeah, I saw it, and
what'd you think?
I'm ready to debate Seth Moulton, and in the fall, I'm ready to debate Mr. Deaton as well. I'm ready to go. Looking forward to having that discussion of the issues.
Well, let's jump the gun a little bit on that, because I've got just a couple of quotes from Moulton about you during the debate. He said, quote, "A lot of people in Massachusetts right now feel like they don't have a voice in our politics and they need a fighter. They need someone who's going to change the playbook. There just comes a time to pass the torch to the next generation." What's your response?
Well, this is the most energized I have ever been. I have voted against more of Donald Trump's nominees than any other member of the United States Senate. I was the first senator to call for the abolition of ICE. I get up every single morning saying that I have to fight for working families in our state who have been harmed by this Trump agenda in 2025 and 2026. The cutting of Medicaid by $1 trillion, the cutting of the Affordable Care Act by $300 billion, the cutting of the programs for kids that need a little extra help in school, the cutting of environmental justice programs. I'm a product as the son of a milk truck driver for the Hood Milk Company. I'm here because of the opportunities I got. I am not any smarter than my mother. I don't work harder than my father, the truck driver. And what's ticking me off is that Donald Trump is cutting the programs for those kids on the porches in Moulton and in Lawrence and in Brockton and in Boston and in Springfield and in Worcester, to deny them the opportunities which they need. That's the fight I bring every single day. Donald Trump brings out the Malden in me, and I am bringing that fight to the floor of the Senate every single day.
You mentioned Trump appointees and voting against them. Here's another quote from Moulton. Senator Markey voted to send Marco Rubio to the State Department. He voted for 61 Trump nominees. Judges who have supported enforcing the president's anti-transgender executive order, supported ending Planned Parenthood. These are the people who've actually enabled ICE, end quote.
Every single senator voted for Marco Rubio. Within 2 days, it was clear that was a mistake. It was no longer the same Marco Rubio. It was invasion of the body snatchers. He was now going to start parroting all of the Trump agenda. So since then, I have voted against every single one of Donald Trump's nominees for everything, because I realize that this MAGA-controlled Republican Party does not allow any nominee to actually act in a way which is consistent with the protection of the public interest, of the interests of ordinary families in our state. So I'm number one in voting no.
One more from Moulton before we move on. Quote, "I'm not going to support Senator Schumer, this current Senate Minority Leader. I don't think Schumer's getting the job done when it comes to really holding the Trump administration accountable." End quote.
Well, first, we have to win the House and we have to win the Senate.
But you've been a supporter of Schumer's, right?
And we are on the pathway. If we keep up our energy, if we keep organizing and not agonizing towards that goal. But we have to do that work over the next 4 months. I'm focused right now on winning the House and Senate. But I do agree that we do need, after we win the House and Senate, that work remains to be done, ensuring that we have a discussion of new leadership, new ideas, new directions for our country. But right now, I am focused on ensuring that we have the accountability by the creation of a majority of Democrats for the corruption commander-in-chief of our country, Donald Trump. That has to be the agenda which we have for the next 4.5 months.
So just to be clear, you're leaving the door open to, in the future, not supporting Schumer as Senate leader. Senate Democratic leader.
In November, we need that conversation about what the direction of our country will be, about the leadership of our country. We need to have that discussion.
WBUR Radio reported this past week that Seth Moulton and his wife hold preferred shares, that's a form of private investment different from publicly traded stock, in several companies that now do business with the Defense Department. The Moulton campaign says those securities are being moved into a blind trust. There's never been any conflict of interest between the holdings and his work in Congress. That's what they say. You've questioned Moulton's integrity before. Are you doing so again over this matter?
Yeah, Seth Moulton has invested in businesses that appear before the Defense Committee in the United States House of Representatives, the committee he serves on. He's invested in those companies. He's enriched himself by the investment in those companies. He has made millions of dollars because of those investments in those companies. I don't invest in stocks. I don't invest in private equity. I don't take corporate PAC money. I don't seek to enrich myself by my service in the United States Congress. And thus far, Congressman Moulton has refused to release his tax form so that the people of Massachusetts can see what those investments are. Congressman Moulton has refused to release his personal financial disclosure statement, which I have released, which all other members of the House and Senate have released, but he has not released it. The voters of Massachusetts have a right to see those investments made by Congressman Moulton in the companies that appear before his that appear before him on his committee and that have enriched him to the tune of millions of dollars. He has refused to do that. Thus far, the voters of Massachusetts have a right to see those investments.
You released your tax returns, but not your wife's. In this case, the BUR story involves investments made jointly by Moulton and his wife. Will you release your wife's tax returns?
Well, I file separately, and we have filed separately for 40 years. That's how we have always done it. We only want to see what Congressman Moulton has done. We want to see his personal financial report. And I will say this. All of my wife's holdings, all of my wife's investments are in the personal financial report. It's all there to see right now. Anyone who wants to see about anything about my wife can do so right now. Moulton has refused to release the personal financial report. That's the DNA. That's what gives the X-ray of who we are, who we invest in, and where the finances of our families are resting.
What are you getting at? What are you trying to tell voters about Seth Moulton? Or are you just sort of saying, well, we need to know more?
Well, Donald Trump is smiling in terms of the self-enrichment of Moulton, because that's what President Trump does with his family, just trying to take advantage of public service.
So you're saying specifically that Moulton's acting in an unethical way? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that it is wrong, and it should be banned. Okay. Members of Congress should not be allowed to invest in stocks of committees that come before them. Members of Congress should just completely and totally rid themselves of any individual stocks. That is what he has been doing since the beginning of his career. I do not do that. I only am bringing this to the attention of the people in Massachusetts because it's important to know that this is a fundamental difference between us. When I serve in Congress, it's to protect the families of our state. It is to ensure that I am making their kitchen table budget work. It is not to enrich myself. It is not to enrich my family. And I think that is a huge difference between who we are. And again, I don't invest in stocks. Okay. I don't invest in private equity. I do not take corporate PAC money.
When it comes to members of Congress investing in stocks, and it certainly brings up a gray area. There is legislation pending in both branches that would limit this, constrain that activity, the Ethic Act. Moulton's a co-sponsor of the House version. Why haven't you co-sponsored the Senate version?
Well, I 100% support banning all stock trading. Okay. 100%.
So you do support that bill?
Well, I do support it, but that's how I've acted See, the important thing is how do you comport yourself? I have never sought to enrich myself by my service in the United States Congress. Okay. My job is to protect the families who I represent, those families in Moulton who right now are feeling absolutely aggrieved, put upon by the Trump administration. It is critical that we stand up for those families, and by enriching yourself, by investing in those stocks, you are absolutely creating a built-in conflict of interest.
Our time is up, but I'm going to steal an extra minute because, as you know, I have been obsessed for many years with making daylight savings time year-round. I like the extra daylight. I don't care what anyone else says. And you have been a champion of that in Congress. What is the status of the legislation to extend that year-round?
Well, you know, John, this is unbelievable. Donald Trump now supports my position that we need year-round daylight saving time. And the reason that I support it is when it's sunny out in the evening, it just turns the corners of people's mouths upwards. They are just happier than having that daylight at 4 a.m. in the morning. They want it after work. They want it when they're going home. So, yeah, hell is freezing over. Donald Trump and I agree on year-round daylight savings time, but even a broken clock is right twice a day, so that's Donald Trump on this one issue. And I just think that it is essential for, I guess, the spiritual well-being of everyone to know that that extra hour makes all the difference.
I'll be watching.
And that's the one constituent service I'm going to try to provide for you and everyone in Massachusetts.
Senator, good to see you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming by. We'll be looking forward to seeing a lot more of you during this campaign. And thank you for joining us right